Hello, my name is Sherry Ride. I am presenting my action research project, which is titled Improving Students' Use of Text-Based Evidence and Analysis in Argument Writing Through Student-Led Discussion. I completed my research in two 8th grade English classes with about 60 students, and 25% of them had IEPs or 504s. One student was designated EL. I chose my focus because my students have often struggled with providing evidence and analysis when writing argument essays, and since this is a secondary ELA standard, I wanted to find a way to help them improve. As I reviewed literature on the subject, I found studies that indicated that small group student discussion can help improve argument writing. A study published by the National Council of Teachers of English reported that when students participate in talk, particularly small groups, they write significantly better opinion essays. The research question that I developed was, how, if at all, do student-led discussions support students' use of text-based evidence and analysis in their writing? I began by having students write a baseline essay, and then each of my 3 rounds were very similar. Students read a common text and were given argument prompt based on the text. They prepared for and participated in a 3 to 4 person student-led discussion, and after wrote an argument essay. I collected both quantitative and qualitative data, including transcripts of student-led discussions, the essays of all students scored with a rubric, as well as the essays and graphic organizers of focus students for coding purposes. A post-discussion survey also provided some very valuable data. The overall findings of my action research indicate that student-led discussions have a positive impact on students' use of evidence and analysis in their argument writing. This chart gives a good overview of the students' improvements through the 3 rounds. The top lines relate to the students' use of evidence, and the bottom 2 represent analysis. You can see that there was a small improvement in their round 1 essays compared to their baseline writing. But between round 2 and 3, there was a much steeper rate of improvement. A change that I made between round 1 and 2 may have contributed to this. When coding the focus students' round 1 discussions, I discovered something interesting. Students had chosen their side of the argument before the discussion and therefore had only gathered evidence to support their claim. During the discussion, the students were listening, but not to gain a better understanding of the evidence, but with the purpose of finding a flaw in each other's argument and evidence. The round 1 discussion seemed more a battle than an exploration of the text and the prompt. My conjecture that this issue had contributed to the minimal improvement was supported by an article titled From Cowpaths to Conversation, Rethinking the Argumentative Essay, which discussed the difference between conversing and converting. It reinforced for me the idea that arguing had inhibited the shared learning experience that could help students understand and analyze their evidence. So in round 2 and 3, students were instructed not to take a side. They gathered evidence for both sides of the argument and after the discussion decided on a claim. The more open discussion format seems to have improved the student-led discussions, which in turn improved their evidence and analysis in their essays. You can see that the improvement in round 2 essays was much larger, which suggests that really discussing the evidence helped them determine what was relevant, what supported the claim, and they were also better able to analyze it. The students themselves also indicated in the post-discussion survey that this method of discussion was an improvement. These are representative answers to the question, do you feel that this discussion was more effective than the last one? Why? These comments indicate that when students were able to talk about the evidence without a predetermined opinion, they were better able to analyze the evidence together, and they were able to make meaning and gain an understanding of the evidence before they chose a claim. Other data that indicated that the discussions were having a beneficial impact on students' argument writing was an increase in the amount of similar evidence and analysis in the essays of the focus students, particularly again in round 2 and 3. Students used the ideas, evidence, and analysis that they had discussed together in their essays. This is an example from a round 2 focus group. It indicates that the students discussed an idea together and then used what they had discussed in their essays, even though they took opposing sides of the argument. This suggested to me that through the discussion, students had gained a deeper understanding of the prompt and evidence and were able to translate what they talked about into their writing. Looking at the round 3 results, there was a slight drop in the use of direct quotes and number of sentences of analysis. This may be linked to a more difficult text and how quickly we did this unit due to spring break and the school's testing schedule. Students had less time to gather evidence, prepare for the discussion, and write the essay. However, even with these obstacles, the quality of the evidence and analysis in round 3 essays was excellent, better than I'd expected. And even with the drop in the number of sentences of analysis, the average was still above 2 sentences per piece of evidence, which is a huge improvement from what I had come to expect. I believe that the data provides strong evidence that student-led discussion is a valuable strategy for preparing students for argument writing. Students benefited from the peer-to-peer interaction and wrote better essays. In light of what I've learned through this process, I can see applications for student-led discussion as a strategy for all styles of writing, as well as reading comprehension and critical thinking skills. And I plan to use it in all my units of learning. Thank you.